So welcome everyone to our keynote event. This is a very exciting moment to us because what we are going to reveal is a project that we have worked on for a very long time. And we are here in a very special place as well because Teldex is our second home for Orchestral Tools, and this is the place where we spent several weeks to record this project.
So we've been talking about this for a while. Thank you for your patience watching all of our teasers. And if you've been watching the teasers, you'll know some things about this big news that we're about to reveal. So you know that we've been working with Benjamin Wallfisch. You know that there's more than one collection. And you've heard us talk a bit about how we've been rethinking our approaches to sampling. Apparently, the teasers were interesting enough to get you here. So thanks for joining us today. Welcome. And let's not wait anymore. So let's run the trailer.
So strings are, for me, like the most versatile and the most powerful. They're the sort of soul of the orchestra. For the longest time, I've wanted a tool where we capture the magic of what it's like to stand in front of a string orchestra. I wanted to have a library where you can control bow direction, creating true division. Every note feels like it's a performance. It has a direction, it has musical storytelling, it has intent.
We are very proud to introduce Benjamin Wallfisch strings, a premium string collection that offers a new level of detail and realism. It comes with new sampling approaches that will lead to a much more expressive and realistic result.
Yeah, and we decided different kind of things that we implemented into this. For example, for all the string sections, we decided to have 2 DVC sections on the side. So that means if you split up your voicings to have multiple voices, it sounds way more expressive and way more detailed. And beside that, we also decided for not using any kind of looping, because especially on film scoring, where you have a lot of those very long atmospheres and chords and stuff, it just makes more sense to also keep the recording ongoing. That's the idea generally, to make this instrument feel like you're sitting on the scoring stage here at Teldex and recording something. And beside that, we also recorded for strings. I think this is a very logical thing. We recorded up bow and down bow positions or directions for all the legato transitions as well as on the long notes. And I think also this makes the entire thing more realistic and more versatile. Something that we really learned over the past years is to do the things as consistent as possible, and therefore we decided to record and capture all the string sections, the DVC as well as the larger cinematic sections with 5 dynamic layers to have super smooth dynamic changes, and if you play the crescendos, it sounds very smooth and very consistent across all the string sections.
And the overall concept and the sound behind this collection is based on the ideas of Benjamin Wallfisch. And but before we jump into a little walkthrough to show you some highlights of the collection, I would love to hand over to Ben.
Hi everyone, and thanks so much for joining us at our launch event. I'm so excited to finally be able to share this new instrument with all of you, and I'm so grateful to Hendrik and the entire Orchestral Tools team in Berlin for their incredible work over the last few years to bring this super ambitious project to life. It involved so much dedication, hard work and passion from hundreds of people, and we all hope that your experience using this new instrument is as inspiring and enjoyable as the experience we all had in creating it for you. When Hendrik and I first started planning this project, we knew we had to do something unique. Why create yet another string sample library unless we try our best to make something truly groundbreaking and fundamentally different from everything else currently available? Of all the sections of the orchestra, in my experience, it's the strings that end up being the least realistic when creating an orchestral demo using samples. This is mainly because, of course, there's nothing that could ever truly replace using live musicians to record our music, and why would we try? I've always thought the strings are almost like the heart of the orchestra, and of course it's just so important to continue to support and use real orchestras in our projects whenever we can. But talking purely about the demo stage, where we just want to give our filmmakers the most realistic and emotionally potent mock-up of our music, I've just always wanted something better when it comes to the strings, a better tool, something more inspiring, something more comprehensive, something more immediately satisfying to use. Something, I guess, that gets as close as possible to having a scoring session on your keyboard almost. You just happen to be able to choose the notes. And that's what we set out to do with this new instrument. I'd like to finish by saying a huge thank you to a few people. Firstly, to all the amazing musicians in Berlin who performed all of these recordings. It was just such an honor for me to spend so many weeks with them at Teldex, conducting them, working with them, getting to know them, and I was just completely blown away by their sheer dedication, amazing musicianship, and of course their physical endurance, just playing so much of this music. I'd also like to thank my co-conductor, Sascha Knorr, who did such an incredible job. And a big thank you, of course, to Hendrik, Mark, Jan, Martin, and everyone else at Orchestral Tools, Caleb Kusner, Kyle Wasilewski, and the rest of my team here in Los Angeles for their part in bringing this project to life, and of course my orchestrator, David Crystal, for his tireless help on this project. Lastly, I'd like to thank all of you watching this video. I feel so fortunate to be a part of this incredible community of composers, sound designers, and music creators around the world. I'm truly honored and humbled to have had this opportunity to be a part of this project and make something which I really hope you find is inspiring and helpful. And I'm so excited to hear what you guys do with it. Thank you so much, and all the best.
So thanks, Ben, for this. And now I would like to walk through some of the patches of Benjamin Wallfisch strings. And when we open the collection here in Sign, you will recognize we have all our 5 string sections that you know from other libraries as well, like Violins 1. We have originally recorded Violins 2 as well. Violas, cello, basses. When we dive into the violins, you will see we have the tutti section as well as the divisi A and divisi B. And we have a 14-piece first violin section, and then 2 times a 7-piece violin divisi section A and B. And all of those instruments or sections are recorded in situ within here at Teldex. Now let's load the Violins 1 tutti first. You will recognize first when you see this that we have down bow as well as up bow articulations. And this is not just the long notes, the sustains that we have captured with up bow and down bow. We also captured all the transitions twice. So they played everything in up bow and everything in down bow. And theoretically, you can also have your own choice of down bow and up bow, or you can also switch them. Let me play you something of the down bow, and I will switch at one moment to the up bow direction as well. So you can hear when you write CC1, which is the dynamic crossfading control, you will also recognize that the entire intensity and expression of the tone changes. Now let's dive into the mixer. As you can see, we have 9 microphone perspectives for Violins 1 tutti. And this time we also had Atmos mic perspectives that we recorded during the sessions. And this helps you a lot, especially for new cinematic projects. And beside that, also all those 9 microphone perspectives are mixed and engineered by Benjamin Wallfisch himself. So he did some processing on it to get this iconic string sound that Benjamin Wallfisch has in his own soundtracks. By the way, you get all of those mic positions also as raw editions, so without any processing on top. So what you hear at the moment today is the Benjamin Wallfisch sound. As one of the highlights of Benjamin Wallfisch strings is the ability to use this as a divisi collection. I also prepared a little demonstration arrangement where you clearly can hear how realistic the split out into the multiple voices works. Let's have a listen. So now let's dive into the Divisi A first violins, which is half the section size of the larger collection. So we have 7 violins playing together here, so a slightly more subtle sound. And the nice thing about the up bow position is also the transition in between the notes and the attacks are slightly different from the down bow positions. And also the legato sounds a little bit more connected compared to the down bows. And this is across all the sections. It's very interesting. Now let's load some of the short notes, staccato, violins 1, tutti section. Nice thing with the staccatos is in particular that also the length of the staccato changes a little bit, and that makes them super playable. So when you play them very quietly, they're way shorter than the loud ones, and if you play with them dynamically, it sounds really like a real recording. It's amazing. Almost like in Marcato, it's pretty playful thanks to those changes in the length of the staccatos. So let's check out another short note articulation. I just played the violin staccato, but I also wanted to show you the spiccato articulations that we captured, in particular with the celli tutti. So let's have a listen to this one. So let's switch over to the cello section. And again, you can hear how fluid you can perform the dynamic changes with those 5 dynamic layers. So everything, all those decisions especially when it comes to all the detailed decisions that we made, are made to make the library or the collection as playable as possible. And it makes you feel straight away like the string orchestra sitting in front of you, just because, for example, for the dynamic changes, they start with this on the very lowest dynamic layer with this very sultasto sound, and the higher you get, the expression gets more and more. The same with the staccatos, that gets longer length when you play louder. And those are all the little details that we made. And also Jan, you and your team, I think we had 3 or 4 persons just controlling all the legato transitions to make them as fluid and as perfect as possible, to align them to all the long notes. This makes it just super fun to play with, actually. Yeah. Let's switch over to the cello divisi section A. So now let's have a listen to the viola section, viola tutti. Very nice. Beside that, what I mentioned at the beginning is that we really have recorded all the sustains without looping. And the reason why we decided to do this is it happens that you play a chord for, 10 seconds or longer, and you don't want to get the same recycled audio material all the time. So we decided to capture very, very long sustains, and you nearly never run out of those long sustains. I just load divisi section A from violins 1 together with the violas section A divisi and celli divisi section A, and routing them to the same channel here in sine, so that I can give you an idea about, when playing chords, how the entire ensemble sounds like. So you really can keep the keys pressed for a very long time. And it's all original recording, so no repeating of any kind of notes. So the idea with the dynamics is definitely to have an aerodynamic position where you are always the best choice. So when it's quiet, you don't want to have molto vibrato or anything. So the playability is really upfront for this kind of collection. When you play quiet, you get this sultasto sound, very silky sound. When you rise the mod wheel, you get this more and more expression coming in, more and more vibrato coming in. And this makes this library the most playable we have ever done.
Yeah, thanks, Hendrik, for this first sound impression. We're really excited about this new release, but as you already know, there is more to come. Let's have a look what our second release is all about.
There's something so compelling and extraordinary about the beautiful chaos that a string orchestra creates. The air is alive with electricity and emotion whenever strings play. And then when you take a string orchestra off the beaten path and create textures that go way beyond what's conventional, it's just such a potent tool when it comes to storytelling and scoring. I've always wanted to create synth patches entirely out of warping acoustic recordings of strings doing the craziest things I could think of. And also create a textures and effects collection that doesn't just focus on the horror genre. I wanted to try and capture beauty, meditation, other worlds, as well as danger, intensity, and building emotion. I wanted each patch in this collection to tell a story and inspire you, hopefully, to take things to even bolder extremes.
Stringscapes by Benjamin Wallfisch is a separate product, and it's based on Ben's very personal approach to create rich textures and sound designs. If you listen to Ben's music, you can easily hear that he has a great ability to write comprehensive orchestral scores, but on the other hand, he's also a great sound designer. If you listen to his work that he made for It, for example, you hear a lot of these really creepy and thick sound designs. And for example, for the Blade Runner movie, he created these really deep, wide atmospheric pads. So for us, it was also very important to cover this side of his music. And that's why we came up with the Stringscapes. And the result is pretty awesome because these textures and sound designs, they sound so rich. Some of them are almost cue on their own. So the product is separated into two parts. So the one part are the recorded atmospheres, textures and effects. And the other part is about sound designs that we additionally added to the product to make it even richer. So Hendrik, will you show us some of the
absolutely.
sounds? Yeah.
So when you open up the collection tile here, you will see we have 4 different kind of folders, and the first 3 folders are describing all the acoustic recordings that we did with 3 different kind of string sections. So the first one is the tutti string section, so all together, the entire string orchestra. And then we have just the high strings and just the low strings because we decided to have dedicated articulations for them. I mean, articulation is a hard word, and it's probably, especially for this collection, hard to put this into a very specific genre, because I think what Stringscapes really does well is it creates moods, it creates atmosphere, and it comes with it's really a tool set of those two sides, sound design combined with what you are able to create by using the strings and coming up with very interesting textures and atmosphere. So let's dive into it. Let's load the first instrument. It's called Tutti Dystopia, and those are all dystopian moods and atmospheres. The nice thing about most of the articulations that we captured here are that they are very, very long. So you can hold down the key. You can listen how it develops itself. Now let's load the tutti horror effects. The risers first. And the nice thing is that we also have all those different kind of sounds in the reversed edition here. That's how it sounds. The steps. For the steps in particular, the reversed one is pretty cool. Pretty intense.
I mean, for a certain scene in a movie, that's basically enough, right?
Yeah.
So that's, yeah.
Now ask you which kind of movie you have in mind if you listen to this. So, then let's load the tutti transcendental. It's amazing, this kind of atmosphere it generates. And you can even play chords with it. It's really, really cool. And in particular, the trills atmosphere here is very, very beautiful. And here you can see it's the same philosophy. We really tried to avoid any kind of looping. So you press a note and there's always coming in new audio material, new interesting things. It's like you would just record this note with the strings in front of you. Now let's dive into the high strings horror. We have some accents. Now let's dive into the low strings. We have more or less the same textures and sounds that you also see from the high strings. For example, the aleatorica. But played by cello, basses, and some violas. And we also got some extensive sampled Colenio and Bartók pizzicatos, and those are played extremely loud. So let's hear to the Bartók bowl. it with cluster. So all the presets that I showed you up and until now are mostly the acoustics one. And although we reverse them and we have a little bit of resampling ongoing here, the next thing that I would like to show you are all the sound designs. Yeah? And we took those recordings and processed them and came up with 4 categories. The first one is drones, then we have textures, percussive and experimental sound design. So let's start with the drones. And for this, for example, I really like the infinity strings. Bloody Spring. Well, let's dig into the textures next. The ascending is one of my favorite sound designs, especially for ambient moments. Like an infinity sound and atmosphere. And now Teldex sweep. Beside all the textures, we also did some percussive things. And one thing that reminds me especially to the It score a little is this one here. That's really insane. Sympathetic risers. And we also got some experimental things which are very nice. The Gregorian one, for example, is one of my favorite sound designs here. It was a little walkthrough to the patches. By the way, we also will have a walkthrough video which goes really into detail with all those sound designs and also those acoustic textures and soundscapes.
Thanks for that. You have to be really patient with some of these patches, I think.
Yeah. You need to hold down the key,
slow.
and it's always something to explore. Yeah.
Wonderful. So, that was Stringscapes by Benjamin Wallfisch, and you heard earlier the Benjamin Wallfisch strings. They're the two collections. The third part of all of this today is that we, perhaps unsurprisingly, have put the two collections together as a bundle, also called Benjamin Wallfisch Strings, and that bundle is on intro offer right now for €699. It's all live right now on the OT website, so go and check it out, have a listen, and don't miss the audio demos especially, because they are really quite stunning. And they give you a really very clear idea of what to expect and what's possible with these two new collections. Okay, so we want to talk a little bit about the experience of working with Ben Wallfisch and also the experience of making this very, very big collection. Maybe start at the beginning. How did this whole project actually come about?
I mean, Benjamin reached out to us, and I have to say, especially the score that he wrote for it is amazingly written, and especially from two perspectives. One is the orchestral elements of it are very, very nicely orchestrated. I like his way of how he arranges for orchestra. And on the other hand, the sound designs are really interesting and super powerful, especially if you see this kind of thing when the clown is shrinking at the end and you have those very aggressive sound designs, and you clearly hear those things are coming from strings. So strings also in this score were kind of a very important voice for him to express himself. And therefore I was excited from the very first beginning to do something with him together. And his wish was kind of to create a string library that feels like you're standing in front of the orchestra, in front of the strings, you're starting to conduct, and it should feel the same way when you touch the keys and you play the first kind of chords. And I mean, I know all those problematic things when it comes to sampling, and you will never reach the absolutely 100% same result like from the same music, from being at the stage and recording with live musicians, but you can come quite close to it. But I think way more important is the overall aesthetics of all this. And I think Benjamin has a very particular sound, especially his string sound. And I'm super happy that he came up with this very nice processings on those strings. And on top of all this is, of course, the technical things. I mean, he's coming from a musician's family. His grandma played cello. He was conducting the London Symphony Orchestra. So he is really into this classical world and understands what it means with up bow and down bow and having all those things under control.
Yeah, it was a little bit about filling in the gaps, things that he was missing, right?
Yeah, and he was also pretty ambitious, and he had a great vision, and it was really cool to collaborate with him on this. And he also really pushed us, right? He pushed us to the limit, and it was a great experience, working with him. Yeah.
I mean, he wanted to have everything. Of course, for him, it was kind of a blank page of paper, and what is the stuff that he needs to come to his vision that he has, this kind of sound aesthetics, as close as possible. And it doesn't look much when you go into the collection folder. I mean, if you open up it here and you see violins 1 tutti, it's not a lot of articulations, but if you consider that we have 5 dynamic layers, we recorded everything with down bow and up bow for the transitions and the long notes, and we did all those things for all the sections, also the divisi sections, and we have 2 divisi sections for every big orchestral string section, then it really adds and adds up. Yeah,
it's the stuff under the hood, right?
Yeah,
that makes it really big. And I remember he was like, let's do 3 divisi sections. And we were like, Ben, 2 are enough, really? Because, from a file size perspective, the raw material inside of this collection is around about 1 terabyte. So, and we compressed it to plus minus 500 gigabytes. So this is what the user will download for the Benjamin Wallfisch strings, for the core library, let's say. And for the Stringscapes, it's another 60 gigabyte. So it's a really, really big thing. And we were like, okay, we need to keep it a little bit handy, you know. So, but that was also the cool thing, what I meant with like, he wanted the really, really big picture, he wanted everything. And our job was to condense it a little bit so that it's still a product people can download, let's say.
I mean, you can still decide, right, which kind of microphone perspectives you would like to download, and you can delete stuff on your hard disk drive with Sign. It's easy.
So but, I guess this we've been saying the whole time this is the biggest thing we've ever done, but this is what we mean, right? You know, it's the depth.
Also the team, right? We never had such a big team. We have different teams working on several kind of projects.
So from the beginning, we added 2 more people to the team. And then, you know, when it came to an end, we added even more people. We had a core team for the editing, let's say. We had 5 people plus 1 product owner who was caring about the more technical big picture and stuff. And then in the end, we added more people, and then in the end it was like 10 to 11 people.
Full time.
Because we then really started to get into that, you know, what you mentioned, into that legato treatment. Because we really said, okay, we need to get the really best out of it that we possibly can. So we really started to tweak every single transition.
It is also the major part of the library.
And
because,
because it's all about legato. And the thing is, what really adds up from a workload perspective is you have like transitions for up bow, for down bow. You have 5 dynamic layers, and you have 15 sections. So it's just a lot of work to do, but it really worked. So it paid off. Let's say.
Definitely paid off.
And we also started at one point those legato listening sessions in the studio. So we all meet together. We have 2 offices, by the way. So one is here in Berlin, the other one is in Freiburg, southern Germany. Then we are sitting there, we are all downloading the current version of it and then playing through the legatos. And here's one little legato transitions pops out. And we really did a massage to all of those sections in very detailed.
Listening to it in this space, which is not ideal for a performance like this, but it's.
I mean, the monitors are down the desk here, so
thank you,
the monitoring abilities are not the best, but still, it's just the expression comes across. All
right, so Benjamin Wallfisch calls from LA and says, "Hendrik, I want to do a string library." Why would anyone say yes to that when there are so many string libraries out in the world? What makes this one special? Why was this a good idea? What were we trying to achieve?
Yeah, we had a lot of discussions around this because we just released Peter Wask strings and we have Berlin strings already. But if you compare Berlin strings with Benjamin Wallfisch strings, you recognize that for Berlin strings, for example, you have a lot of articulations, a lot of different kind of short notes and different kind of lengths, while Benjamin Wallfisch strings offers, for example, the divisi option to the table. And for Berlin strings, on the other hand, you have very interesting articulations like blurred spiccato or something. Yeah, we tested a lot of stuff in this collection, but for Benjamin Wallfisch strings, we knew from the beginning the most important patch is the legato patch, and this should be as expressive as possible. And we put all our focus and all our efforts into those patches that you use in 99% of the cases. So from that perspective, both libraries fit together very nicely. Both are recorded at Teldex, so they have more or less the same kind of room sound to it. And if you need those very specific articulations, wider set of different kind of short notes, then Berlin strings is a good addition to Benjamin Wallfisch strings. On the other hand, the legato of Benjamin Wallfisch strings is the best we've ever done. It's the most expressive version of strings that we have out there.
Okay.
Yeah, and he came up with a divisi idea from the first moment, right?
Yeah,
we haven't got the divisi thing so far.
We always try to get around the divisi thing because we know that's super expensive. Everything you need to do twice at least.
Yeah. So we did the whole legato thing. We did 3 times per section, right? So, and for 2 different types of legato. So yeah, this really adds up. Yeah,
it does indeed.
Yeah.
So Ben initiated the initial contact. What was Ben's role in the process? Because he's not he's more than just the name on the box, right?
Definitely, yeah. So we were a lot in contact with him also on the concept, right? And also now in, let's say, the last 3 months where everything got in shape, we were feedbacking all the time. So he was really like also, he was testing, and then he always sent us videos with feedback, and he was like, okay guys, this is very good, and here is a little bit stuff that I don't like, can you please adjust or so. So he was really into it, into the process, and you really felt that it's very important for him to make this thing as good as possible. So he's really into the whole project.
That's great.
I mean, he came to Berlin for several weeks to attend the sessions. I mean, this is crazy.
We conducted a lot of the sessions.
Yeah. For example, the tutti sessions for the Stringscapes, and also for the big library as well. But he was here listening to everything, and his involvement was really huge and pretty much into the detail of every aspect of this collection.
Excellent.
So yeah, we are approaching the end of this keynote. It was an exciting evening for us because we unveiled our largest collections that we created to date. I want to thank Benjamin Wallfisch for his commitment into this project, and I also want to thank you for joining us in this very important moment. And I wish you great holidays, get well into the new year, and we will see each other very soon again. Thank you very much for joining. Bye-bye.
It's amazing when you see a master string player control a note from the beginning to the end, the way that they initiate the sound. I'm always amazed at just the sheer range of a string orchestra specifically. There's this beauty in the control chaos. The minute you load a patch, you'll just want to play.